This episode of the Boat Geeks is sponsored by The Boater's Guide, a free app for Pacific Northwest boaters. The Boater's Guide is adventure and information, right at your fingertips, right when you need it. Find your happy place with The Boater's Guide, a free download on your phone or tablet in the App Store and Google Play.
All right, here's another very special episode of the Boat Geeks podcast, recorded live on location at the Port Townsend Wooden Boat Festival 2024.
The 47th annual Port Townsend Wooden Boat Festival, which is the granddaddy of wooden boat festivals in North America.
Yeah, and for a very good reason. It's a small marina, but they packed that thing full of amazing wooden boats, from the tiniest dinghy
all the way up to motor yachts and big schooners.
Yeah, it was just a pleasure sitting in between each show. We got to stare at all the boats and dream, and it was amazing to see so many beautiful boats in one place, as well as so many amazing and beautiful people in one place.
We met men and women from around the world that are part of this wooden boat universe.
Indeed, and it was a pleasure talking to every single one of them, and we got to meet some of you.
Yeah, some of our listeners and fans we got to interact with, and that was a real treat.
Let's get right into it. Here is the next episode of the Boat Geeks.
From the Port Townsend Wooden Boat Festival and recorded in the Fisheries Supply, live from the Wooden Boat Festival stage, it's the Boat Geeks with Darren and Daeron.
We're the Boat Geeks, whatever floats your boat. We're the Boat Geeks, it's the boat that floats that we love the most. Yes, we love the most.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Boat Geeks, and this happens to be a very special episode for multiple reasons. Number one, as you can see, we're not in our studio, at least our regular studio. It is a temporary studio for 3 days. We are at the Port Townsend Wooden Boat Festival 2024, and I am your host, Darren.
And I'm your other host, Darren.
And joining us today, we have Jesse Wiegel, race boss for Race to Alaska, and also, Jesse, help me.
Oh, you do
70-48.
so many other things.
And something that we'll be bringing up in a moment. He is with the Northwest Maritime Center here in Port Townsend, and he is our first guest at this awesome event. Thank you, Jesse, for being our first. You weren't quite our first last time, but you were one of our first episodes ever of the Boat Geeks. We totally enjoyed having you on, and very much welcome you back.
Well, thank you very much. It was super fun the first time. Maybe next year you could bring the boat.
Yeah,
that would be
studio.
nice.
Yeah.
It's not,
to the
we have to
festival.
convert it to wood first.
That's all right. We'll nail a piece of wood.
It's
to the
got
side.
a lot of wood on her.
Good. That's right.
Yeah.
So how are you doing? Are you
great.
You're not stressing out? You're not one of the Maritime Center people that stresses right now?
Well, you know, we all have a base level of stress. I think my job right now is to hopefully support everybody else. Barb Traylor, the festival director, and others are working super hard to pull off this festival. And so, I've got a party to throw, which is pretty a pretty sweet
That's
gig.
a heavy responsibility, man.
Hey,
Heavy.
yeah, so now we know that you have a special announcement. I've been hearing something on the wind.
Yeah.
And some of it was boat horns. I did hear some boat horns, but I did hear that Jesse has a special announcement today. Do we want to get into that first? Do you want to
Sure.
dive right
Absolutely.
into it?
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of version 2 of the announcement. We've already announced the basics that, drum roll, is that Race to Alaska is going to be shifting to a biennial schedule, meaning, for those of you who don't know the word biennial.
Twice a year? Oh my goodness.
Every other year. Yeah. Every other year, Race to Alaska is going to run, and in its place on the off years, we are going to bring back the race that we ran in 2021 called Washington 360.
Oh, I heard about this.
Yes.
That's right. It takes place entirely within Washington State. It happened originally because of COVID. We couldn't cross the border with Race to Alaska. We'd already had a cancellation in 2020. We were sick of not racing, so we threw together Washington 360, which has generally the same rules. No engines, although you can keep them in the boat in Washington 360, which, of course, you cannot do in Race to Alaska.
Yeah.
But also no support, nothing that isn't available to everybody.
Still a tough adventure, something
Super
that's going to
tough
challenge
adventure.
you.
Yeah, I mean, it's roughly 360 miles. It has a lot of the same features of Race to Alaska, perhaps scaled back a little bit, but you have some long stretches of open water potentially. You've got definitely some areas of high current. There's a choice to go through Deception Pass, if that is your desire,
neat.
either that
Yeah.
or the Swinomish Channel through there, Laconner. It takes you, I could describe the route. You go from Olympia. Oh,
Yeah.
Well, actually,
Yeah.
before we get into the details, because absolutely I want to know all the details of this new race, or actually the race you're bringing back from 2021. But first question is, why the change? What brought this about?
that is a great question.
Well,
And
the Olympics seem to be successful with that. So
yeah.
Every 2 years?
Every 2 years.
Yeah,
Except
Well,
there's 4.
you know, there's some deep analytical reasons that I came up with, but generally,
Was
what
it a
we're,
dart at a dartboard?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I have a spinning wheel of dumb
bar
ideas.
napkin, yeah.
Well, you know what the mission of the Northwest Maritime is to engage people in transformative maritime experiences, and that is 100% what we do with 7048.
Yes.
100% what we do with Race to Alaska. That said, there's more opportunity to engage more people. Race to Alaska is out of the grasp of some people.
Sure.
Not necessarily because they can't do it, but just life stuff gets in the way. Pulling your engine out of your boat is a big, big deal. And so being able to bring a race of the same nature here into the Puget Sound for the community of the Puget Sound is going to enable more people to engage with what we do.
That is great.
It's
That's
also
great.
possibly kind of a stepping stone up to Race to Alaska. You know, it takes
Makes
some
sense.
confidence to get into Race to Alaska.
Absolutely, like almost like a training grounds. And I wonder, with the Race to Alaska people getting, I mean, I don't know how many people do it every year, but getting an extra year to maybe prep their boat, design,
Proving
plan,
ground, so
you
to
know,
speak.
so maybe we'll see some different designs, or maybe we'll see some different attempts at the Race to Alaska because they have more time to think about it. I don't know.
Yeah. There's also, you know, you got to leave them wanting more.
Yes, absolutely. Good
100%.
point.
You got to
Yeah.
let that energy build.
That's
So, a
right.
question then: those that have an engine that don't take it out, what is the requirement to ensure? I mean, you know, we have to sometimes zip tie our Y valves on our holding tanks. So, what are you going to zip tie the prop or?
You know, last year or the first time we did it, we got some giant industrial zip ties, and every boat had a different configuration. I think most often we just locked out the transmission, so that no one could do anything with that. Of course, you know, one thing is if you do use your engine to go save a life or to assist somebody, that's groovy. Go ahead and do that. Otherwise,
A la
you turn it on, you're
Kristen
disqualified.
Neuschafer,
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
She
Yeah,
had that
exactly.
rescue. So, okay, again, it's the Washington 360.
Correct.
And this, the first one happened in 21. And so this will be the second, which is happening when?
Here's the real announcement. This hasn't been announced yet, but I will tell you.
Ooh,
Taking
exclusive.
place, exclusive first shot. It will be taking place starting June 28th, 2025.
Nice.
Oh, that's just around the corner. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's going to be, so this is coming up in 2025. We're doing that race. Racers have 14 days to complete the race. Now, you said it's the second running of Washington 360, and that's true. However, I'm thinking of this more as a reboot.
Okay.
Because we have an opportunity here to
Hey, Marvel does
shift
it all the time,
I
man.
know, right?
Yeah, go
exactly.
for it.
We're gonna take the opportunity to shift a little bit of the architecture of the race so that it can really step up and become, hopefully, like a foundational Puget Sound water community event that goes on and on.
Awesome. We love it. You know, this is absolutely another event for us to promote, to hopefully be a part of, assist in. We are super excited about that. I think there's no downside to this at all because, again, I think you're right. It does leave you wanting more with that Race to Alaska, and I like the Olympics comparison. And it gives us some variety, right? So it's a little bit more variety to your races that you're already bossing.
Now, speaking about variety, it's got a whole different course. You started to describe it.
That's
Yeah,
right.
let's get into the details.
Yeah,
of the
let's get
course.
into the details here. Well, before I get into the route, I'll tell you, in the first running of Washington 360 2021, we had 3 classes. We had Go Fast, Go Hard, and Human Powered. Now, the difference between Go Fast and Go Hard, it was self-selecting. Are you some kind of screaming fast hot rod of a boat, or are you a cruiser? But of course, we're the races of the Northwest Maritime Center. We don't really care so much about rules and and handicap and all that.
PHRF rating.
PHRF.
Yeah.
And so we and so it's a little muddy. So that's one of the refurbishments this year is we are creating a new class system. We're gonna let that one rest. We're gonna still celebrate the winners of 2021.
Excellent.
In our way.
Good.
But this year's classes is the wind division, sailors,
Sure.
Self-explanatory.
and the muscle group
Ooh.
for human powered.
Nice.
Okay.
The end.
Nice.
That is the end.
That's simple.
Simple,
Easy
right?
to understand.
Sail it or do it by human power.
Yeah.
And those are your two classes for 2025. And
Is there
probably
a
the future.
hybrid? Can you do? I mean, you've got people.
You
that
got sails, you're a sailor.
and but you can pedal.
Nah,
and-
I think if you're a kayak with a sail, you're in the wind division.
Okay, so any vessel that can harness the wind is in the wind division, no matter
Yes.
what else they have
Yep.
for funky engineering. Okay.
Absolutely.
Question: how long did it take for people to complete it in the 3 categories that you had in 21?
Great question. I don't have the exact number on the back of my hand
Sure,
right now,
estimate.
but it was in the 3-day zone. Interestingly enough, the first couple of days of the race, human power teams were in the lead.
That's what I was getting at. I
yeah,
wanted to
okay.
know
Yeah.
between the sailing and the human powered. So it could be, depending obviously on the wind conditions, it could be neck and neck. And
Absolutely. And one of those teams that was in the lead the first time around is a team we had in Race to Alaska this year, as well as 7048 this year. And that was Blake Hansen of Team Boogie Barge.
Oh, yeah.
And he puts
Yeah.
together that.
Yeah, I love that rig. That's awesome.
That pedal powered catamaran.
Yeah.
And he was crushing it with his team. And but he had to stop for a couple of days to go to work.
Oh, are you kidding?
And then he came back to the race and still beat a bunch of people.
All right.
So I'm
great.
pretty
Way
sure
to
that
go.
Blake will be back
Way to
for
go,
Washington
Blake.
360
That's
again.
awesome.
So the human power teams have, they are really competitive in this race, which is a difference from Race to Alaska because obviously we're going to be hard pressed to ever see a human powered first finisher in Race to Alaska.
Sure.
But the conditions down here, it's late June, early July in the South Sound, and I'm not making any bones about it. I'm not trying to pretend like there's a bunch of wind down there. That is baked into the cake of Washington 360. You got to deal with that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a late. We went whenever we go down there. It's trawler water we call it, and it's like being on a big lake most of the time.
Shake
So-
and bake.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
So the course. Let's get
So
that.
yeah,
'cause
so
that's really a
2
key.
categories: human powered sailing. Now, starting point.
Right here.
Awesome.
All of 200 yards to my left. There's going to be it's the same starting line as Race to Alaska off of the Northwest Maritime Center dock.
Excellent.
The next mark, you got to go around Olympia Shoal in Bud Inlet. That's as
Oh,
far
my
away from
gosh.
here in Puget Sound as
Wow.
you can
Yeah.
get. Don't hit that rock down there.
Yeah.
But go around it and then turn yourself right back around. The next place you need to go is within 2 miles of Goat Island, which is on the backside of Whidbey. It's protecting the entrance into LeConner and the Swinomish Slough. So you can take either Swinomish or you can take Deception Pass. So there's a pretty major tide gate right there. People don't also realize, like, the channel itself, that's also a tide gate. So
Yeah.
it can get pretty hard to puncture either of those penetrations.
Okay,
And-
so but if you take the Swinomish, and then you have to contend with Guimas.
Well, yeah. I mean, you're
So-
getting up there because the next mark after that is in Bellingham Bay. There's
Oh,
an outfall
there-
buoy.
okay, great,
It's just
great.
north of Fairhaven there.
Great.
So, yeah, you can avoid Guimas. You can
Yeah, yeah.
stay east of there if you want. And after Bellingham Bay, you're going to find yourself going around a mark up at Point Roberts. We used the bell buoy
I
up
love-
there
yeah.
the last time. I'm thinking we might actually plan a proper race buoy to get everyone just a little closer to the actual Point Roberts this year. And after Point Roberts, right back here in Port Townsend.
Oh my God, what
Which
a
gives
great
you
course.
a whole lot of options, right? If you're coming Point Roberts
Yeah.
here to Port Townsend, you've got at least 3 options to go. You go Haro, you go San Juan Channel, you go Rosario. Figure it out.
So course planning, navigation is going to be essential to this. Absolutely. Do you think more or less than Race to Alaska in terms of like course options?
Oh, geez. Well, I mean, I think Race to Alaska still got to take the cake there. I mean, you got a lot of mileage, you got a lot of channels.
Sure.
I mean, Race to Alaska, you can tack out to Haida Gwaii. So,
Right.
No, you don't have as many options, but you do have some, especially that last leg down.
Wow, that sounds so fun. Wouldn't it be? Oh man, the Boat Geeks on riding along on a race. Anyway, we'd just be extra dead weight. But
Hey, have your own team.
I know, right?
Live stream the whole thing.
Oh, yes, that would
Well,
be
we
fun.
do talk a lot, so we can provide our own win.
We could provide our own win. Get big sales, man, and we're going to
the
win.
muscles, I'm not so sure about. Human
You know what?
power,
This is going to be an awesome weekend, and we were talking about our. Sorry to interrupt. We will get back to the Washington 360, but this view and look at this boat sailing by. I mean, I love our studio in Ludlow.
Yeah.
But what an opportunity this is to be at the Wooden Boat Festival.
Yeah.
And I love our view. Sorry, geeking out.
Oh,
So,
I mean, that's the good ship adventures, right?
I know.
Yeah, it's
She's
beautiful.
a beauty.
That's where I met this gentleman who you can't see off camera.
Yes.
That's where I earned my sea legs.
All
Nice.
right.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember you
Gorgeous,
talked about
gorgeous.
that in episode number 3.
Yes, number 3. That is correct.
Check it out. Episode number 3. Big interview with Jesse.
All right, so the Washington 360. This sounds awesome. It's going to be in, you said, July
28th.
July
Have
28th.
2 weeks. It's going to wrap up at noon on July 12th. Did I say July
June
28th? June
28th.
28th to July 12th.
I said July. Sorry about
Put
that.
it right here.
That's all right.
Yep, we will put it right there.
But it's right here? Okay.
Yep.
Frame it. And yeah, that's going to be wonderful. There's a little more to it, though.
Yes.
Something we've learned the last couple years of Race to Alaska, especially in 2022, we had a team we were not expecting, a new type of team, and that was Team Rite of Passage. So Team Rite of Passage was 4 youngsters, average age of 16 and 3/4 years
yes,
old, right?
yes.
Now I remember.
They were on a Santa Cruz 27,
Yeah.
and they did really well.
Yeah.
They made a lot of smart choices.
Good for you guys.
And we learned, like, oh my gosh, you know what, the deciding factor whether there's going to be a youth team or not is
Right.
not the skill.
Right.
Like, they're the ones who are actually out there doing high school sailing team and all these things. They're engaged.
Yeah.
And
There is a
actively
lot
learning.
of young sailors in Port Townsend.
There are, and in the Sound
And the Pacific
in
Northwest.
general, in the world. And
Yes.
so we learned, it's really the logistics of getting teams together that I think is stopping there from being more youth teams. And then again, this year,
Yeah.
we saw 2 youth teams, maybe 2.5 youth teams in Race to Alaska this year. And so what we're going to try to be incentivizing more youth participation in
that's
Washington
awesome.
360.
Oh, that's awesome.
So in all of our
Yeah.
races, we always, there's a fee. We're trying to, support the programming of the Maritime Center. And so there's a base registration fee, and then there's a per crew additional fee. We're going to waive any additional fees for any crew members under 18.
You guys are awesome.
Good on you,
We're
mate.
also
Good
going to
on
give
you.
a discount to any team that is completely under 18.
That is so cool, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love.
Come on, you guys, get out there and do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been, the last 6 months to a year, I've been meeting more and more young people wanting to get into boating, whether it is, in the industry. Lots of people going to your high school program, the new program at the Maritime Center. And I just love meeting all the young people that are getting into boating. It's the next generation, and hearing that there's young racers and everything too. It's exciting. I'm
Yeah.
very, very happy and excited for the future of boating and sailing in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, that's great. I could talk about this race forever. I'm so excited about it.
Well, thank you for letting
Well,
us know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
A full episode. In
full
the
episode.
future.
We will
come
have you
back
back.
down to
Let's
Port
do it.
Ludlow,
Yep.
and we will really dive into the Washington 360.
All the nitty gritty.
Yep.
Perfect.
All right.
Sounds great. So, Jesse, thank you so much for joining us again. One of our premier guests, and now our first guest to be
First
on
repeat.
twice.
You are special.
There
Thank
are.
you.
All right. Well, it's been another episode of the Boat Geeks. We are signing off. Whatever floats your boat.
We're the Boat Geeks, whatever floats your boat. We're the Boat Geeks, it's the boat that floats that we love the most. Yes, we love the boats. We're the Boat Geeks, whatever floats your boat. Walk on the water, float on the sea, crossing the oceans between you and me. The wind in our hair, the salt on the breeze, bringing us closer, life on the sea.